The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, warning of a major negative shock that will emerge from the Trump tariffs. They're also slashing 2025 U.S. growth forecast to 1.8% from 2.7%, citing the trade tensions. Here to talk about all this and dissect so much more, E.B. Tucker. He is the author of Why Gold, Why Now? And he's also back with his latest, Not for Sale, How to Survive and Thrive in a World That Wants to Control You. And you can also read him much more often than the two books at ebtucker.com with the Tucker letter. How did I do? Did I get all those boxes, EB?
Sounds good to me.
Now you're officially a best-selling author.
I think that's technically the case, but some people like to read these days. Some people want instant success, like a sweepstakes, and which I find fascinating. We're writing about that this week in the Tucker letter. By the way, the Tucker letter has no advertising and has nothing to sell you and comes out every other Thursday. And if you want to really learn how someone thinks, you'll read it. And if you want to stop reading it, you just stop reading it. It's just come and go as you please.
Well, look, you've always kind of been ahead of the curve here with the Tucker letter, with your books. I mean, Why Gold, Why Now? We're obviously going to talk about why gold now.
Yeah.
But first, I want to get your thoughts on the IMF here, warning of a major negative shock. I mean, look, the headline doesn't surprise me, but does it scare you?
Nothing really scares me. FedCoin is a little bit scary, but we're ready for that too at the Tucker letter, but that's coming. It's funny right now because I was a dropout, which a lot of people have a hard time understanding. And then I didn't read a book until I was, I don't know, maybe 29 or something. And then I read thousands of pages of books like in months. And the consequence of that is that I never really trusted the teachers and the people that, were in charge of me growing up. And what I see right now, it's very amusing because everyone says you got to trust these people in Brussels and in Geneva and in Washington. They know best. These are the people, these administrative people, the people that have been given their life to government. But maybe not. I mean, what if give the other side a shot, and what if it works? What if business people, and what if, why not give it a shot? Maybe the people that are bureaucrats don't know. So when the IMF comes out with a warning, maybe it won't be as scary as you think, and somebody will do better. That's the thing people don't realize is that people have done very well the last 15 years. We have this thing called the virtuous circle that we've been talking about in the Tucker letter. That was the Bernanke-Obama plan to manage society with levitating stock and home prices. And that would cause everyone to feel rich, even though they were getting poor. And that's over. And so now there's a new regime. And if you're ready for it, it's exciting. And if you're waiting for the professor to come back in and tell you that you're a good student, just follow their instructions and you'll be okay. Probably it is scary.
Okay, I like this mindset. I want to learn a little bit more here because, as you know, a lot of people watching are, looking at what's going on in the world.
Terrified.
We don't know what we're going to wake up to, right?
Yeah.
So how do you stay in control? How do you stay focused? And how do you not get carried away by all the noise?
So I play a lot of tennis. That's number one. That helps you really stay focused. Tennis is like running around playing chess.
Yep.
Yeah, and also these people never really did me any favors, that were in charge for a long time. So I think that helps, okay? Because if you were benefiting from a system where you didn't really have any skills and you were just seeing like you're levitating, in your 401k and you bought a townhouse near Washington and it went up in value, then I guess it is scary, right? But we were talking about gold. I mean, this is just a hunk of metal, and everybody was saying like, how dumb is that, But I mean, this is like 120 grand now, and it's going higher, and everybody's just bugging out. And this is not going up in value, by the way. The silver, it's 105 to 1. The price of gold to silver. Now, this is important, right? Because everybody's like, oh, what about silver? Well, silver's not going up because it's easier to control. But gold has become hard to control, okay? So what you see is there's something going on with the nations of the world. Someone's putting pressure on the New York and London process of keeping
Exactly.
the gold price mellow. And we've talked about this for years, and everybody wants me to write a new Why Gold, Why Now, like an updated version. I'm not going to do it. The reason why is because you just don't read chapter 24. That didn't work out well. And everything else in the book is totally the same. And if you just read the book, it takes only a few hours. You understand the whole gold market. And so the gold market is not driven by people buying gold. In fact, the dealers tell me that people are not really buying gold so much. I mean, there's a lot of people still selling, which is shocking. But what's happening is the pricing is changing, and I think it's going to keep going up. It's going to go too high, by the way, and then it's going to come back down. And people are very confused by this. But what you see is it's been held too low, and it's been done with the futures market. And we've been uncovering this for years. And I don't like when people call it manipulation. It's management, because they figured out that if the gold price stayed down, it would mask the overall kind of deterioration of the money in the society. And so that was very easy to do, but it blew up, totally blew up.
Okay, good point there. Why did it blow up? Why can't they mask it anymore?
It went too far. Like all cartels, there's a saying that any cartel eventually, erodes, right? It never holds together for so long because you push it too far. That's what happened. And so you managed it with the futures market. We would write in the newsletter that there would be like half a year's gold supply trading in the futures market on a day, and it would knock the gold price down. It was very obviously driven by someone unloading tons of futures contracts that had nothing to do with actual gold. And that became expensive all of a sudden because it went too far. People say 100 to 1. People say, there's 100 ounces of futures trading for every ounce of gold. Who knows? Also, who cares? What we see now is that there's some sort of nation versus nation. Let me have the actual gold. And then it's just there. I mean, there's gold there. It's kind of like saying the futures market is not a bad thing. I mean, if you're a farmer and you need to buy a tractor, you'll sell next year's corn harvest today and you'll buy a tractor. That's how the whole thing started. But how it's finished in the gold market is going to be, it's really unraveling. That's what's happening. And so if you have the metal, you're in a whole different ballgame. And if you don't have the metal,
Yeah,
good luck.
good luck.
I mean, you just have paper. And everybody kind of the other thing is, I want to talk about this sweepstakes mentality. I just think the market's going to keep going down until all these people that want instant success are gone. It's not how it works, right? I mean, people like yesterday, the guy I played tennis with, David, he in the weekdays, he was like, well, my girlfriend wants to know what she should do with $10,000. And I'm like, you should tell her to do something fun with her boyfriend. And he's like, well, no, like an investment. And I'm like, look, I'm trying to tell you, take the money and do something memorable. Well, we can't do that. We need to multiply it. And it's like, why? Why? I mean, why is this mentality of I have to instantly create this massive effect or whatever, and somebody's got a secret for me, and if they'll give it to me, then I could change my life. And if
Because
they
you're
don't give
supposed
it
to
to
make
me,
money grow. That's what he wants, his money to grow. He wants his
yeah,
wealth
but
to
it's
grow.
you encounter these times where if you're me, okay, so I see myself as a long-term manager, like a steward of money, okay? And I think it's because that's the way that I learned about. My grandfather taught me about stocks. They traded in fractions. So it'd be like 22 and an eighth or whatever. And there was never a time where he was like, you multiply, you go on a trampoline effect, and it was like, no, you buy something like a business that seems like a good thing that you like. And then you keep an eye on it, right? And you over time, that business should grow, if you've made a good call, with that, if you feel like you paid a good price. If you bought an exercise bike with an iPad on it for $100, that was a bad idea. That didn't work. Okay. But if you bought something that, grew over time, like the stocks in the Tucker letter, if you bought something that actually it makes money and it gets bigger and it's not dependent on memes or something like that, right? Then the business gets bigger and your money does grow. But we were a long way away from that. We're way, way far away from, we're into this, just give me the ticker symbol right now. I can put it in my Robinhood and I just need the answer and you have it for me. And if you're right, I'm not going to give you any of the
I
money.
right.
And if you're wrong, I'm going to throw eggs at your house. So that's not going to work. And what I'm trying to say to you is that the market will keep going down until those people are out of money.
It's
And they're not out of money yet. They still have
and and,
$10,000 to like multiply.
and EB, I think along those lines, those are the same folks who didn't want to buy gold because it wasn't going to give them that instant
They're
return.
not going to buy it now either because they're like, it's too high. It's gone up, but it's not too high. I bought 20 coins
Yeah,
this weekend. Okay, I bought my kids. I was like, let's buy some coins. So we
right.
bought them online through a dealer. I'm nervous now they're not going to ship them to me. If they don't, I'll publicize the trade in the newsletter because it's like there's an asterisk that says we reserve the right to like cancel sales if the market moves too much, and the market's up obviously like 150 an ounce or something like that. But I thought that might happen, so I've bought the 20 coins. But my point is that when I buy gold, it's not really a trade. It's like I'm trying to kind of say what percentage of my money do I want in gold. That's what I'm doing. And nobody understands that. They're like, well, I can't do that with my 10,000. I'll never become super
Yep,
rich.
yep. They're
Why
missing.
do you want to be super rich anyway? I mean, here's the other thing. Like my entire life, which I piece by piece show people in the end of the Tucker letter, right? None of it is designed on like being super rich. It's all designed on doing things that I find extremely enjoyable. Okay. Like everything I do that's how I decide. I don't like, for example, I don't go to a restaurant because there is a coupon. Like if I feel like having Italian, I'm going to go to Italian, or if I feel like French, I'm going to go to French. And like, it's nothing to do with like it's a coupon. Like that. That's what people don't understand. They don't understand that like you don't do things to become something else. You do things because it's what you want to do. And so that changes your entire mentality when it comes to what are you going to do with your money. It's the whole thing becomes easier. And what I'm trying to tell you is nobody that's in that mindset is going to be talked out of it. You cannot talk someone out of delusion. The only thing that talks them out of it is running out of steam. For example, if you have a problem with drinking or something or drugs, you can never reason with someone that has a problem with drinking or drugs. Forget about it. You actually have to encourage them to do more because eventually they'll run out of their own horsepower, and then they'll come to you and they'll say, I think I have a problem with
Right.
drinking or drugs. And you'll go, really? You think? Like, is this new information? We're trying to tell you this for 10 years. And that's why, like, the Tucker kids, like, will never have the chance to go to rehab. By the way, this is like something I did that the lawyers were like spun out when I did this. I'm like, no, it doesn't work. Like, the only thing that works is running out of gas. Now, how does that relate to your money? Well, once these people with the 10,000 are like, you know what I'm going to do with the 10,000 is I'm going to save it. Then we're probably at a market bottom. Because if you remember in 2010, like when Bernanke started the virtuous circle, he told us in a Washington Post essay that he was going to make the stock market and the real estate market slowly go up in value because it would make people feel confident and they would invest and they would spend, and that would create this virtuous circle. And he did it, but we didn't listen. In 2010, everybody thought it was way risky to have stocks. Now, of course, the resource stocks were moving, okay, but nothing else was moving. I mean, if you told someone in 2010 you were going to buy like tech stocks, anything, they were like, that's really dangerous. You should definitely not do that. Remember, Occupy Wall Street was 2011. That was 2011. We were still a year before. Remember the bull down there? You and I used to do
Oh yeah.
interviews like that people were living around the bull, defacing the bull. That was still a year ahead. Okay, so everybody forgets all about that. So nobody was like, what should I do with 10 grand? Like, should I buy some penny stocks? I mean, nobody was doing that. So what I'm trying to say is that if you want to be successful over the long term, you have to switch your thinking away from this sweepstakes. And you don't have to be conservative. I mean, I'm really not that conservative. Like, if somebody hits me with an idea that's crazy, I'm like, yeah, I got a little bit of money for that. I mean, I'm not like, it's not like I'm buying bonds, right? But what I'm trying to say is my mindset is I'm responsible for this over the long term. And once you do that, it changes everything. And then you'll buy some gold. You don't care the price. If you
Yeah.
have like a small percentage of your portfolio in gold, you don't care what the price is. You're looking at a percentage. You're like, I'm balancing I manage money for my kids. Okay. I balance the portfolio like every 6 months.
It,
Like I look at the portfolio and I'm like, what percentage do I have in this stuff? It's too much. I just go down. I'm not like, oh, it's the price is not the driver of it.
it
I'm
feels
like, I want them to have this and this and this.
it's interesting. Having been in gold for so long, it just feels to me that excuse me, that gold is almost finally liberated. That's getting to do its thing.
It's going to go too far.
And
It's going
so
to go
yeah,
too
so I want
high.
to pick up
Yeah.
where you said that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the fear is, how sustainable is this? So what causes
A
it?
little bit more sustainable, but because it has to, if you hold a beach ball underwater, it's going to fly out of the water and then it's going to come back
Yeah,
and it's going to hit the water, but it's still going to be higher than where you held it under the water. And so what you don't want to do is try to time when it's going to come out of the water. That's the problem with the silver people. Silver people, listen to me, you have a lot of problems. The first problem is you don't understand how the market is going to work. You will have this thing. Trying to catch this thing is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. Now, if you catch it in the futures market, you're going to make like a fortune of a lifetime, but you probably won't hold on to it because it's almost impossible. If you catch it, it's almost luck. So you want to be aware that it's going to shoot and then it's going to come back and it's still going to end higher. Gold price at 34 and a quarter. Let's see.
yeah. As we're
34.20.
speaking, yeah.
That's $24 trillion worth of gold in the whole world. Okay. Now what do we have? A 90 something trillion dollar GDP or something like that? I think it's less than 100. We have a stock market worth like 55 trillion. We have a real estate market worth 50 trillion in the US. We have like 300 plus trillion of assets around the world. 24 trillion, it's not crazy. But Bitcoin is 1.8 trillion. It's quite a bit smaller. I mean, if you think about it in these terms, right? I mean, you need to start looking at these things. Now, if gold goes to 5,000 an ounce or something like that, like now you're into the 30 trillion range. That's starting to get pretty high. Okay, so like people talk about the Dow to gold ratio. You start thinking about like if the Dow to gold ratio was down really low, like 2 to 1 or something, that's like that means gold is like really, really high. And that means fear is at a level that's so high that like, is starting to become something that,
What
I think people should be aware of.
What do you make of this reading through the tea leaves or the clues or crumbs, whatever you want to call it, that this administration is showing us in regards to gold? There's all of a sudden talk of gold, President Trump tweeting, "He who holds the gold makes the rules." What does that mean? Is there a
I
reset back
mean,
to gold? I mean,
yeah,
everyone's trying to
no,
interpret. What's
yeah.
your take or insights here, Thebes?
I mean, I think you've got to understand that Trump. First of all, my favorite book is Infinite Jest. The president in the story is this guy who is like exactly like Trump. Okay, he's like a showman. He's like a microphone swinging, like like everything is a show. And you just have to understand that it's like this guy says things for effect. I mean, it's like the way it starts to become very predictable. So I think these absolute things of like you're going to a gold standard is totally ridiculous. Like you're not going to a gold standard. I mean, if you did that, like people would be totally wiped out. And what's the point of that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, sure, you have the gold, you make the rules. It can mean a lot of different things. Nobody has any gold. I mean, China has a lot of gold. The U.S. does have a lot of gold. Germany has a lot of gold. And so it's been highly financialized, and you're going to unwind some of that. And that's the bottom line. Now, the system is not going to collapse. This is crazy thinking. It's not going to happen like this. But the leaders of the pack are changing, and the beneficiaries are changing. And as you see, there's been a lot of people close to the previous administration. When I say that, I mean the last 15 years, close to Washington, that have done very, very. Remember my story last year when I was at the Hay Adams and the guy eating the
Yep.
mascarpone pancakes and everything. People don't read this stuff. I mean, it's like those people are right now are freaking out, and they're flailing around and they're trying to like throw insults at people and all. It's ridiculous. It's just changing. It's changing. There's a new group of people that are benefiting, and you should be one of those people. That's totally doable.
When you say it's impossible, though, I want to bring you back there. maybe it's come to a point where there's so much loss of confidence in the dollar crumbling, that you need to have another solution. There is no choice. There's no way out but a reset.
You're going to get FedCoin. That's what's going to happen.
Okay.
You're not going to get honest money. Yeah.
Okay. FedCoin.
Yeah.
Here's a concept.
Yeah.
And FedCoin, by the way, folks, for E.B. Tucker, is central bank digital currency. He coined the term.
Yeah. A long time ago.
Long time ago, patent E.B. Tucker.
Yeah. 10 years.
So we stopped talking about central bank digital currencies. By we,
Yeah.
I mean,
that's right.
Right.
That's right. It's out of the
like
narrative.
All of a sudden, we were talking about it for so long.
Yeah.
It's coming. The plumbing's done.
Yeah.
Get ready, and then silence.
Yeah. That's right. So it's all setting up. Okay. So the next crisis, or the next crisis after that, it's going to come, and it's going to feel like a safe solution, and there's going to be beneficiaries. There's going to be companies that are going to help put this into place and restore safety and confidence to the market. There's going to be people that'll sell it as a big idea. There's going to be tech leaders that are going to be there. You can use your imagination as to which ones might be involved. and this is, you're going to take this and you're going to love it. And to me, it's the year 2025. I think the Tucker kids are going to look at the gold and say, this was kind of dumb because, it just sits in a box, but it is worth a lot, but it's sort of underground. I think there's going to be an excise tax on gold. I mean, you're not going to have anywhere to hide from FedCoin. Okay. So you're going to take the FedCoin. It's kind of like I am in New York all the time. I fly to JFK, and the security line is really long unless you submit to facial recognition software, which is optional. And the option is you can stand in line for like an hour. And I probably fly in and out of JFK like 25 times a year or something at least. And it's not really practical that I can avoid facial, which you're already in the system. I mean, just walking into the airport, they're taking like 300 pictures of you. You're already in there. There's no avoiding it. So with FedCoin, it's like, unless you plan on living in Helena, Montana in a cabin or something, and chopping wood and killing elk or whatever, which doesn't really sound like that much fun, for 40 years. I've lived up there before, by the way, the Panhandle of Idaho, as you know, and it's fun, but it does wear on you after a while. I mean, you occasionally want someone to cook a meal for you or do something, so it's not going to be practical to avoid. It's coming. And you're gonna be part of it.
Why?
And you should see that.
How are you so convinced? What makes you so convinced? I mean, I know the ECB.
Why? Let's argue against it. Why would anyone in Washington do any favor for the common person to enhance their freedom?
Why did they come out, this administration, say, yeah, we're not going, or he even signed the executive order banning central bank digital currencies, however you want to interpret it. And yes, you could just say, it's a magic trick. They're going to just call it something else, or they're going to pretend to ban it and it's something else.
Well, it's like the same as virtue signaling or something. Like all the people to be popular now. You as a wealth person on media, you have to say that you grew up poor. It's like you have to establish that you grew up poor, which is so stupid. I mean, because all the people that say they grew up poor are raising their kids like little princes and princesses, right? So, and you're like, well, if you grew up poor, why don't you raise your kids poor? Wow, it's just stupid. So everything is like signaling, and so you're going to signal that you're protecting, and you're all about the individual, which, it's like, whatever. I mean, it's not like bad to signal that, but when it comes to managing this blob, which, let's be clear, is the biggest economy in the world, which also, let's be clear, is pretty powerful. I mean, if you notice, like all this talk of reckless, decisions out of Washington, there's a lot of countries that are like on their knees. I'm not saying it's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm just saying that it's a pretty big system, and so when you're going to evolve this system, how are you going to do it? I mean, you already have the Patriot Act. You already have the FACTA laws and all forget about trying to do anything outside of the system. I mean, literally forget about it. It's already set up. And so the next wave of it is, and also with money. I mean, I don't know. I keep a decent amount of cash. Like not for any reason, by the way. It's just because like I have a couple places, and some of them have hurricanes, and some of them have like you have to pay off the super in the building in New York and all this stuff. So you got to keep cash around. It's actually very hard to get cash. Like best case scenario, you get like 1,000 at a time, right? I mean, like if I
It
go
is.
in for like 5 or 8,000, they're like, we need to know the purpose of the money, and I'm just like, I don't know, like drugs, I mean, it's like, right? So that's what you got to tell them. By the way, you have to tell them drugs, because nowadays doing drugs is like acceptable. You know what I mean? So it used to be bad. So you just tell them, yeah, I got a drug habit. So they can't judge you for that. If you say because I want to have a lot of
Yeah.
cash to
I
protect,
need to
that's
come with you.
suspicious.
I need to come with you
Yeah,
next time you go to the bank and just
yeah.
want to see the person's face when
It's
that.
unbelievable.
Um,
By the way, the bank has turned into like where people that used to work like at the city now work there, right? It's like it's literally like I'm sorry if people that are watching that work at a bank, but like it's got to be the dumbest people out there, because I mean you
oh
try to
boy.
explain anything to them. Like for example, like sending a wire. Go into your bank, try to send a wire, and let me know what happens.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sure. Well,
unbelievable. Like
if you're buying
the
gold and you
chance of
just send
them
a
getting
wire,
getting the number keyed in properly are low.
yes,
Yeah, it's
yes,
crazy.
yes. I have my own personal
It's
experiences
bad.
that
By
went
the way, the
wrong.
solution for that, let me tell you who's been a bank for me. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
just give them a plug. Is Fidelity Private Client.
you like
They're a great bank.
okay.
They don't mess up. Period.
Wow, that's a
Yeah, it's
huge plug.
unbelievable.
Um,
Yeah, I've had like they've saved me, by the
I
way, because everybody else let me down.
I want to talk about the Fed a second here with FedCoin and who really wants it. Is it the Fed? Is it the government? Is it much bigger than that? Um, but this I want to talk about the tension between the Fed and President Trump. Can the
Yeah.
Fed keep its independence here? How do you see this playing out?
Was it ever independent?
Ah,
I mean, I mean,
ah,
it's the whole thing. The whole thing is silly, right? I mean,
yeah,
the thing people got to realize though is the banks no longer matter. It's all about the flow of
yeah,
the money. That's what really matters. Like the banks are totally a early 20th century construct. I mean, you read all these books about like the history of the Fed and all this stuff. It's morphed now. It's totally about the flow of money. And so yeah, I mean, look, the thing is, the whole thing is goofy. I mean, Powell was pretty loyal to the previous administration, who, by the way, let's not forget, tried to basically like destroy the current regime. I mean, imagine having like 95 felonies and like not being able to go on television and not being able to go on social media and not being able to do anything, and then you come to power and you're like, hey, guess what? You lowered interest rates multiple times trying to get the previous regime reelected, and I'm not happy about it. So like, it's like obviously there's tension. So probably the way this resolves itself is the Fed lowers the rates 2 or 3 times and makes an upward sloping yield curve. I hope that's not too much for people to understand, but I think Trump wants American growth. That's what he wants. He wants people to build things. He wants projects. He wants, the
yeah,
local plumber to expand the business. Please don't get into, I'm not for this or against this. I could care less. I'm not registered to vote. My job is to steer the ship. You don't want the guy steering the ship arguing about something on land. Forget about it. Like this
yeah.
is what's happening, and so we have stocks in the Tucker letter that are going to benefit from this, and they're not going down like all the tech stocks
Yeah,
that benefited from the previous regime.
I was
Does that make sense?
I was having this conversation with my father, and I actually thought of you. I was like, oh, I wish EB was. We would have loved it. I was, he runs his own business, and I was asking about, the late '80s, early '90s. I remember when my dad would come home with so much merchandise from companies, like he'd be like, oh, this company gave me like a case of sweaters, like swag
Yeah,
and whatnot.
yeah,
So companies
yeah.
had all this merch that they were giving out, and I was like, and he said something interesting. He said it just felt like everyone had money. Now,
Right.
people
That's
weren't
right.
taking the trips that we were doing, but people owned
Right.
homes. Everyone owned their own home. They weren't living as lavishly as we live today.
They had some autonomy.
Bingo. And
Yeah.
but they all, he said, like all his friends, like they all had money. Everyone just
Right.
felt there was a middle class, right?
That's right.
So,
That's right. So we got rid of that.
and that's what
Yeah, we got
Trump,
rid of that, and Trump speaks to those
right.
people.
So
That's
do
the
you
bottom line.
think,
Yeah.
my question to you is, do you think Trump will be, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to rebuild the middle class. Do you think we'll get the middle class again, or do you think we're just so far beyond that right now?
I'm not quite that optimistic, but it won't be the same as before, because there's been a hollowing out of people's ability to think, and there's a lot of complicated factors involved here. I just think that the bigger picture is my attitude towards watching these people work. I mean, I've met with Dissent, not in like a one-on-one, but like listened to him speak to a small group. So I've got a feel for him. This is way before he was treasurer when he was doing Key Squared still. And I just think to myself, like, I don't have a television. I don't watch any of this news. I don't have a Facebook or Instagram, any of these things. And so I'm just basically sensing what's going on with the prices. And I think actually, there's just a shift. It's a transition, and there will be businesses. He will reward certain businesses. I mean, and we're buying those. That's what we're buying. I mean, there's going to be winners, and
Yep.
maybe this is only in the long term a short reprieve of pressure. Like maybe the longer term trajectory is not great, but who cares? I mean, it's impossible to steer a ship for what's going to happen in a month. You got to steer it for what's going to happen this afternoon, and that's what you got to do if you want to give up these absolute things of like this and that is going to whatever. But like think about Canada. I mean, you're
Yeah,
in Canada.
yeah, I'm here. I'm here for the election. I got to be here
I
for the election.
remember like back in the day, Canada was like really less developed. Like in the 90s, for example, first time going there, the boom has been on the back of all these things that Trump is attacking. Because like Vancouver was not a massive city like it is, and Toronto was not. It wasn't like that. It was very different. Canada has been a huge beneficiary, and I just don't think people have any awareness. There's a lot of name calling. There's a lot of this, like confusion and disorientation because they've been a big beneficiary of this massive paper money boom. And if you're going to take a pause on that, I mean, it's not going to be pretty.
Yep.
It's like it's going to be. I don't know. I think you want to really back up. If you're stuck in that.
I felt I had to come back to Canada during just this election, just feel it all. I have to just be in it.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. One more point about the Fed here, because there's so much talk that, and news circulating, nothing's confirmed that they have a bailout already planned to the tune of, $2 trillion, whatnot. Any insights here? Do you think the Fed
there's always plans like that, by the way. There's always like things like that planned. They don't always work out. So I would kind of trade what is. I mean, things do not look good for the overall market. I mean, personally, I'm like lower percentage of stocks than I have been in years, and I still I love stocks. I mean, I'm always going to have stocks, but I have a lower percentage stock allocation than I've had in a long time, and so that just means that I've cut back the positions, a lot, and I've gone with more cash, more gold. More real estate that I use. I don't mean like for investment real estate, I bought last year a bunch of trailers, and I think people didn't understand what I was doing, but like there's a lot of demand for trailers, and the reason why is because housing became out of reach, and so there's a lot of like hardworking people that are serious about having a better life that are renting in the trailer communities. And so the rents have been like really high. Okay, just giving you an example. But my point is that like I've pulled back on the stock market, and I don't think I'll amp it back up for a little while. Yeah. Because I don't think that people are fully digesting the stomach punch that they got.
Stomach punch. Exactly.
It's pretty bad.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, like you're going to get hit again. So like So, and just remember, if that goes sideways for a year, that also is like being punched.
Yeah, you will get hit again.
It's the same.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just not a great time to own that stuff.
Yep.
It's just not. I mean, some stocks are doing well. I mean, we have a smaller portfolio in the letter, and it's doing quite well.
Yep. It's really
So,
well said. And yeah, I think it's you said it in a very matter of fact, grounded way. Um, that is what's coming, EB.
yeah, that's right. So anyway, ebtucker.com, we'll tell you all about it every other Thursday.
You can get EB's book, his latest, Not for Sale, How to Survive and Thrive in a World That Wants to Control You, on Amazon, correct?
Yeah, Amazon, Barnes
And,
and Noble, local bookstore, Ingram. It's
and,
everywhere. Audible, Spotify, you name it.
and his,
And look, I mean, the fact is that if you're interested in how I got here, I mean, I don't have this like rags to riches story. It's not really like that. I don't. I think it's such a dumb story, but I'll tell you about what happened to me growing up and how I ended up here. And I've known you for a long time, and we've talked about this in the context of raising kids. And if you want to do something, if you want to do a favor for your kids, put some thought into how they should learn to think. I mean, there were some people in my life that were like angels, that came along at various times and taught me little tiny things that remarkably changed
yep.
my path. And it wasn't STEM education, it wasn't
I can't tell you
fancy preschool.
how many times I think about these conversations we've had. I mean, yesterday I was playing with my kids, my boys. They just turned 5. Um, you've been part of that whole cycle. You've seen me pregnant and seen
Yeah,
how I'm growing them and raising them. And so they're out of school this week. I pulled them out of school. I gave them an extra week off, whatever, and we're playing in the dirt. And I'm just thinking, this is wonderful. Like, I actually
yeah.
feel this is what they should be doing. We were out the whole
You
day.
see the wheels turning in
I
their head.
see the wheels
Like you see
turning.
them solve a little
Yes.
problem.
Yes, we were problem solving. And how could we get to these
Yeah.
bushes without, getting our feet wet, and just exactly. I saw the wheels turning, and I almost had this
Yeah.
aha moment where I'm like, well, this is what we need to be doing more of, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. A mix of everything. I mean, it's not like it's the worst thing in the world to go to school and socialize and all this stuff, but like the real learning
Yeah.
is in those interactions with you as a parent.
Yeah. So that's what
And
about it.
you start to see a shift go on. You look at these other kids, you watch the ones that are heavily institutionalized and the parents are fully bought in, and you just see them turning into these like totally predictable outcomes. You watch it happen.
It's funny
So
because
raise radicals. Maybe the next book is called
raising
Raising
well,
Radicals. Yeah,
and not to harp on this, but I had a mom saw me as I was preparing the egg hunt for the kids, and she
yeah,
was like, "Oh, aren't you glad Easter's over and you don't have to be doing this anymore?" And I wanted to say to her, and maybe I should have said to her, actually not. Like, I
yeah,
no, actually, I'm enjoying this moment. I want to be in this moment, and
yeah.
if I could freeze this moment forever, I would. Um, and
Yeah, but we can't. We flow along down to the
yeah,
next thing and the next thing, and then the hard part then is then we have to let go of them as they become independent thinking, and that's the real trick. Is that that's what people wouldn't do with me. They wanted to change me, and so the how to survive and thrive in a world that wants to control you was born.
I know.
But
Yeah,
but we can learn from stories. We used to learn from stories.
we
We used
did.
to sit around and listen to people tell stories, and then it taught us things. And we can still do that, but not on TikTok.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Or
Absolutely.
how about rarely on TikTok? I'm sure there is
I'm not even
actually
on it.
some useful person out there somewhere on TikTok, but soon they'll probably get off of TikTok out of total frustration. But the real stories are given to you for free, by the way. That's why when you mentor someone, I mentor people, but I don't look for them. They find me. We work together, and then they leave. That's how it works. Mentors, people are shocked that a lot of my mentors I don't speak with anymore. They think it's bad, but it's not bad, because once that relationship runs its course, you move
Yeah.
away and you go on and you keep growing and evolving like that.
Well, I'm glad.
You give things away, and then you freely give them away. Okay. And then you go to the next thing, and you're doing the same for other people. I'm meeting people all the time that are very interesting, especially in New York. And we are having a relationship for some time, and meeting and having coffee and talking about interesting ideas. And then you slowly move away. You don't have to, not everything gets put in a capsule. Some things are this moment in time with your boys. Like, you want to see them eventually move into independent thought, and you can just kind of like love them and let them go like that. People have a hard time with that concept. It's essential though. They're going to be independent,
Learning,
little intense
learning.
creatures. I've seen them. They're like, you're not going to want to stand in their way.
Oh no, and I won't. I am
Yeah.
grateful for you, E.B. Tucker, and I'm
Yeah.
thrilled. Look, your first book was a smash success, and I have no doubt, Not for Sale, will have the same impact on folks and lives. And just congrats, wishing you success, my friend.
Thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you this summer.
Me too. And thank you for watching. We'll have more coming your way. So as always, sign up at danielacambone.com. We'll see you real soon. In my recent interviews with Tim Wood and David Stockman, both warned that we're nearing a major reset, something much bigger than a simple correction. And if you've been watching the markets this week especially, the volatility, the headlines, the chaos, you've seen and you've felt it. If that leaves you feeling uneasy or unsure of what to do next, you're not alone. That's one of the reasons I encourage you to speak with someone at ITM Trading. These are people that I trust and work with closely, and their focus is helping you understand how to protect your wealth, your future, and your family. So even with gold recently making all-time highs, now may still be one of the smartest times to add it to your portfolio. So call them because they'll walk you through how gold and silver can act as insurance policies during these uncertain times and help you build a strategy that fits your goals. You don't have to know all the right questions. You just have to take that first step. So call us or click on the link below or just scan the QR code to schedule that call today.